نحمد ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد بسم الله. Today inshallah we will start Surah Sad. So Surah Sad is a Makki Surah, 88 ayat and 5 ruku. And the name comes from the beginning of the surah, starts with the letter Sad. And what is the connection of this surah with the previous surah? So in Surah Safat, the disbelievers claimed لو أن عندنا ذكرا من الأولين لكنا عباد الله المخلصين, that if we had a reminder similar to the previous nations, we would have been sincere servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we would be sincere in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Surah Sad, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins with an oath on Quran that it is available to them, it is in front of them, and this Quran is full of remembrance and guidance. And then Surah Sad also complements Surah Safat in describing stories of other prophets like Dawud alayhi salam, Sulaiman alayhi salam, Ayub alayhi salam, and Adam alayhi salam. A brief synopsis of this surah is that this surah begins with a description of mushrikeen's pride and their rejection of the truth. And then it reminds of past nations who were destroyed due to denial of their messengers. The surah also emphasizes on three core beliefs: the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the prophethood of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the day of resurrection. And then there are stories mentioned of Dawud alayhi salam, Sulaiman alayhi salam, and Ayub alayhi salam in detail in the surah. Towards the end, the surah elaborates the incident of Shaitan's disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when he was commanded to prostrate to Adam alayhi salam, and then he refused to do so. And then finally we learn about the determination of Shaitan in leading the humans and jinns astray, and that is his commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he will do his utmost to make sure that people are misguided. Before we begin the surah, let's go through some background in which it was revealed. So we know that Abu Talib was the uncle of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he used to give a lot of support to him throughout his life. And then when he became sick, the leaders of Quraysh, like Abu Jahl, As bin Wa'il, and others, came to him and complained him about Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And they said that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam denounces their idols, and instead he calls people towards a single God. So Abu Talib called Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and asked him what he wants. And we learn about that discourse in a narration narrated by Ibn Abbas anhu in Tirmidhi, as he reports the incident that Abu Talib asked, Ya ibn akhi, ma turidu min qawmik? O my nephew, what is it that you want from your people? So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam replied, Inni uridu minhum kalimatan wahidatan tadinu lahum biha al-arabu wa tuaddi ilayhim al-ajamu jizya. I only want one word from them, for which, if they were to say it, then the Arabs will become their followers, and the non-Arabs will pay jizya to them. قال كلمة واحدة قال كلمة واحدة قال يا عمي قولوا لا إله إلا الله. So Abu Talib inquired, one word? And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam replied, one word. And then he said, O uncle, let them say, La ilaha illallah. So when leaders of Quraysh heard this, they became agitated, and then they replied what is mentioned in verse number 7 of this surah, ما سمعنا بهذا في الملة الآخرة إن هذا إلا اختلاق. We have not heard the like of this in the religion of these later days. This is nothing but an invention. And this led to the revelation of Surah Sad. So with this background, let's begin the Tafseer. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صاد والقرآن ذي الذكر. Sad, by the Quran containing reminder. Sad is among the huruf muqatta'at, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows its true meaning. And here there's an oath taken on Quran, wal Quran. So the obvious question comes, where is the Jawab al-Qasm? And there are multiple opinions on this matter, but Imam Suyuti explains in Tafseer Jalalain that Jawab al-Qasm is actually mahdhuf, is hidden here. وجواب هذا القسم محذوف أي ما الأمر كما قال كفار مكة من تعدد الآلهة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking an oath by Quran that the claim of plurality of gods by the disbelievers of Makkah is incorrect. That is the statement upon which the qasam of Quran is taken. And then the dhikr. There are two interpretations of this expression. First interpretation is that Quran is full of reminder, as it comes in Surah Anbiya, verse number 10. لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكُمْ كِتَابًا فِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ. We have certainly sent down to you a book in which is your reminder. So that is the first interpretation. Another interpretation is that Quran is full of honor, is a book of high standing. And then there is really no contradiction in both interpretations, because Quran is indeed a noble book which has reminders for mankind. وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فِي عِزَّةٍ وَشِقَاقٍ. But those who disbelieve are in pride and dissension. So izzah means takabbur wa hamiyya. So false pride and self-glory. And shiqaq means mukhalifa or inad. So disobedience and stubbornness. Quran is a reminder for those who want to be reminded and want to learn a lesson. But the disbelievers will not benefit from it because of their arrogance and false pride in their tribes, and due to their rejection and opposition of its message. كم أهلكنا من قبلهم من قرن فنادوا ولا حين مناص. How many generations have we destroyed before them, and they then called out, but was not a time for escape. So qarn means ummatin sabiqa, previous nation. And then ولا حين مناص ليس الوقت وقت فرار وخلاص. This is not the time to escape and find refuge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds of other nations in the past who also denied their prophets. And indeed, they were then surrounded by the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when they became helpless in this situation, they cried out for help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and even tried to repent. But this late awakening did not save them from bearing the punishment. As it comes in Surah Anbiya, verse 12, فَلَمَّا أَحَسُّوا بَأْسَنَا إِذَا هُمْ مِنْهَا يَرْكُضُونَ. Then when they sensed our torment, behold, they tried to flee from it. وَعَجِبُوا أَنْ جَاءَهُمْ مُنذِرٌ مِّنْهُمْ وَقَالَ الْكَافِرُونَ هَذَا سِحْرٌ كَذَّابٌ. And they wonder that there has to come to them a warner from among themselves. And the disbelievers say, this is a magician and a liar. So this is what disbelievers complained, that how it is possible that a human being like them would get revelations. As is also mentioned in Surah Yunus, verse number 2, أَكَانَ لِلنَّاسِ عَجَبًا أَنْ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى رَجُلٍ مِّنْهُمْ أَنْ أَنذِرِ النَّاسِ. Is it a wonder for mankind that we have sent our revelation to a man from among themselves? أَجَعَلَ الْآلِهَةَ إِلَٰهًا وَاحِدًا إِنَّ هَذَا لَشَيْءٌ عُجَابٌ. Has he made the gods only one God? Indeed, this is a strange thing. So ujab means ajib, strange. As much as they were apparently complaining about the Prophet being a human, what was really bothering them was the message of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which was to give up idol worshipping and only submit to the one Creator. وَانطَلَقَ الْمَلَأُ مِنْهُمْ أَنِ امْشُوا وَاصْبِرُوا عَلَىٰ آلِهَتِكُمْ إِنَّ هَذَا لَشَيْءٌ يُرَادٌ. And the notables among them went forth, saying, continue and be patient over the defense of your gods. Indeed, this is something planned. So al-mala'u means al-ashraf wa kibarul qawmi, elites, the leaders, chiefs and masters of a nation. And then amshu means istamirru ala dinikum wa shirkikum, persist in your religion and continue associating gods to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And la shay'un yurad mudabbarun yuqsadu minhu tara'us was siyada. So the message of Tawheed brought by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is deliberate with the intention of leadership and sovereignty over them. So not only did the leaders of Quraysh rejected the call of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam towards Tawheed, but they also went on to portray that this was an attempt of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to gain leadership and control over them. Hence they said what was mentioned in the hadith of Tirmidhi as narrated by Ibn Abbas and comes in the next verse. ما سمعنا بهذا في الملة الآخرة إن هذا إلا اختلاق. We have not heard of this in the latest religion. This is not but a fabrication. So al-millat al-akhirah means dini aba'ina, the religion of their forefathers, the latest religion that they had. And ikhtilaq means kadibun wa iftira'un, a lie or fabrication. Their reason to reject the message of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was that they found it different from that of their forefathers. And then we see the same line of reasoning by leaders of Quraysh as described in another verse in Surah Mu'minun, verse 24. فَقَالَ الْمَلَأُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنْ قَوْمِهِ مَا هَذَا إِلَّا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ يريد أن يتفضل عليكم ولو شاء الله لأنزل ملائكة ما سمعنا بهذا في آبائنا الأولين. But the eminent among those who disbelieved from his people said, this is not but a man like yourself, who wishes to take precedence over you. And if Allah had willed to send a messenger, he would have sent down angels. We have not heard of this among our forefathers. And then the Quraysh then continued with their reasoning to reject faith as it comes in the next verse. أَأُنزِلَ عَلَيْهِ الذِّكْرُ مِنْ بَيْنِنَا بَلْ هُمْ فِي شَكٍّ مِنْ ذِكْرِي بَلْ لَمَّا يَذُوقُوا عَذَابٍ. Has the message been revealed to him out of all of us? Rather they are in doubt about my message. Rather they have not yet tasted my punishment. So one of the reasons of rejection was that the message of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was different than their forefathers. But then they also had a problem. How can a human being receive divine guidance? And if that was even possible, how come it was Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who was chosen and not one of the established leaders among Arabs? As it comes in Surah Zukhruf, where they mention the similar complaint in verse 31, وَقَالُوا لَوْلَا نُزِّلَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنُ عَلَى رَجُلٍ مِّنَ الْقَرْيَتَيْنِ عَظِيمٍ. And they said, why was this Quran not sent down upon a great man from one of the two cities, Makkah and Taif? So this argument was a way for them to doubt the decision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in appointment of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the messenger. And what is really worth note-taking is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says next. بَلْ لَمَّا يَذُوقُوا عَذَابٍ. Rather, they have not yet tasted my punishment. So let's apply this to ourselves. How our own lives are riddled with the same behavior that Quraysh were exhibiting. Our rational self takes over our better spiritual self, and similarly our actions. We pick and choose to follow commands based on our own understanding. And as an example, when you hear Muslims talk about different actions and how they rationalize it based on their own understanding, they belittle the consequences of that action. So let's pick backbiting, which is a serious sin. And then when you remind people of how severe a sin this is, you hear them say, I'm not making this up, I'm not lying, and I'm actually bold and truthful enough to say it in front of the person I'm talking about. And you wonder then, why don't they get it? And this verse may help us understand why. وَلَمَّا يَذُوقُوا عَذَابٍ. People commit sins because they have not really tasted the consequences of those sins. Let's look at a narration regarding the punishment of backbiting to help us understand how serious that is. Narrated by Anas bin Malik in Sunan Nabi Dawud, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, وَلَمَّا عُرِجَ بِي مَرَرْتُ بِقَوْمٍ لَهُمْ أَظْفَارٌ مِّن نُحَاسٍ يَخْمِشُونَ وُجُوهَهُمْ وَصُدُورَهُم فقلت من هؤلاء يا جبريل؟ قال هؤلاء الذين يأكلون لحوم الناس ويقعون في أعراضهم. When I was taken up to the heaven, I passed by people who had nails of copper and were scratching their faces and their chests. I asked, who are these people, Jibreel? He replied, they are those who eat the flesh of people, meaning they backbite and they attack their honor. Allah Akbar. Imagine if someone had experienced this punishment, would they still be bold enough to backbite others? Most likely not. But even when we are not aware of the exact punishment of a particular sin, the general punishment in hellfire should be enough of a deterrent. Narrated by Abu Hurairah anhu and Muslim, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, نَارُكُمْ هَذِهِ الَّتِي يُوقِدُ ابْنُ آدَمَ جُزْءٌ مِّن سَبْعِينَ جُزْءًا مِّن حَرِّ جَهَنَّمَ. Your fire which the son of Adam ignites is only one of 70 parts from the fire of hell. So imagine placing your hand over a lit candle or touching a hot iron press. You know how painful that can be. Then reflect on the severity of the hellfire, and that should be enough of a deterrent to avoid sins, so we do not end up in that state. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the understanding in this world to correct our actions and save us from the challenges and torments of the hereafter. Ameen. أم عندهم خزائن رحمة ربك العزيز الوهاب. Or do they have the treasures of the mercy of their Lord, the exalted in might, the bestower? أم لهم ملك السماوات والأرض وما بينهما فليرتقوا في الأسباب. Or is theirs the dominion of the heavens and the earth and what is between them? Then let them ascend through any ways of access. فليرتقوا في الأسباب فليأخذوا بالأسباب الموصلة إلى السماء وليمنعوا الوحي. Then let them take the means to reach the heaven and block the revelation if that's what they have a problem with. جند ما هنالك مهزوم من الأحزاب. They are but soldiers who will be defeated. They are among the companions of disbelievers. So جند ما means جنود قليل حقيرون, fewer in quantity and unworthy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to explain how unreasonable are the arguments of disbelievers. They neither have access to the treasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nor they have any sovereignty over the heavens and the earth. So their complaint about why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was chosen as the prophet or why the revelation only comes to him are irrelevant and moot. Instead of dwelling in their arguments, they should be prepared to accept the defeat destined for such disbelievers. Let's review verses 1 to 11. So Quran is a noble book full of reminders, and arrogance and stubbornness are among the causes of disbelief. There is no escape and refuge possible from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it comes. And the knowledge of punishments in the hereafter should act as a deterrent to us to avoid sinning in this world. And finally, disbelievers are guaranteed to be defeated in this world and the hereafter. So we'll stop here inshallah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم.